Hey lovelies, it's Kate. Welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. This one is extra special because, as you can see here, I've built a complete street including 5 houses. The street that you can see here is part of the build. I created it myself. I've used plenty of debug cars and so many objects to make it look like the real deal. And I started off by manipulating the terrain because I wanted to have a raised section in the back. Because my idea was, if I'm going to build multiple houses on one lot, I don't want the houses in the front to kind of block the view of the houses in the back. So I just wanted to work with different levels. The main issue for me whenever I'm working on a build like this is that you can only set a wall height for all builds. So it doesn't matter if you're building a separate building on a lot, you decide that the wall height for the level at the bottom is high, and you will have to deal with that, as we all know. So this is kind of the problem. I still decided to use the tallest wall height because I wanted to use platforms and it just looked right, and I wanted to have a really tall building in the back. So this building is kind of towering over the whole lot and it's gigantic compared to the other ones. The other ones are medium sized and one is like super tiny or small. I mean, not really tiny, but it's just a tiny house, only one floor and that's it. So it's compact. And this build is of course available in the gallery, so you can grab it from the gallery, you can use it, and you can let your Sims move in. But now you might ask yourself, how will I be able to use this build? And there are different ways. So one way is using the roommate feature, which is a part of the base game as far as I know. And there are also plenty of mods out there which should allow to use a build like this. But if you are playing without any mods, you can just use the roommates feature. So you let a family move in and then you basically assign a house to them. So you lock the doors of all the other buildings for your Sims and they will have to use one house, and then you can let some roommates move in and they should move into the other houses. Of course, it's not perfect, like the whole system behind it, and it would be super cool if this would be like a proper part of the game. But there are different ways to use a build like this, and also it's just so much fun to work on a build like this. I started to work on a mansion first, but then I was like, no, I want to build like a Suburban Street. I want to work on something fun, so that's what I did. And here you can see how I'm working on a pass. So my idea was to have this house in the back, and then I wanted to have a beautiful pass right in front of the house. And I wanted to have a nice curve because, first of all, I love round shapes in this game, but I also thought it just makes sense because the house is like sitting in the corner, and I just wanted to make everything look balanced, and I just created this pass in front of it, and I used a debug fence and then all these hedges, and to create the curved shape I've used a gigantic rock from Journey to Batu. I just sized it up, and this way I have a nice guideline. And this little object in the front that I have placed right in front of the rock is a base game debug object. I like to call it the base game debug brick. Some of you know it, like some of you have been around for a while here know this object. And I just wanted to have a nice kind of edge so it looks really cool. I then found these objects in debug, so I was able to place a tree on the inside. It's just perfect to really make it look like a public pass. I've used this wonderful terrain paint, and I just wanted everything to look so dreamy. And initially I decided to use this white wallpaper for the exteriors, but then later on I'm going to make some changes to this, and some of the houses will be yellow. I just had a Desperate Housewives moment. Whenever I'm working on a suburban build, I start to talk about Desperate Housewives, and yeah, this just kind of once again gave me some Desperate Housewives vibes. But I wanted this to be modern, so I was going for this farmhouse style, like a modern farmhouse conversion type of thing. The shape of the house does not look like a farmhouse conversion at all, but I was going for this very typical exterior wallpaper, and then I've combined all these dark columns, so it looks like really like this type of style. I guess you know what I mean. But then later on I thought, okay, it's lacking some colors, so I then used a yellow wallpaper just to make it look a bit more fancy. And here I'm just decorating a bit, and I then used the same rug from Journey to Batu and the Space Game column to create another round wall, because the house is sitting on the hill that I've created, so it's sitting on an elevation, and I just wanted to have a wall so it's looking like nice and neat. I didn't want to have any exposed terrain. I just wanted this to look like a proper planned suburban street, so I didn't want this to look too natural or anything. And at first I've placed this floor, as you can see here, which looks like lawn, and by placing the floor I'm preventing that when I'm like changing the terrain now, that it's going to like change the terrain up there, and this way it's not going to move the base game debug bricks, and I'm having like a really smooth, nice surface up there. It wasn't perfect, so I eventually had to use some floor pieces to fill in the area, and this way it looked really perfect. As you can see here, I have a nice round wall, I have a flat area up there, and I just filled in the area using more of the lawn floor. And I then moved on and started to work on the second house. I wanted the second one to be in this area. I was going for a very similar style, but it's different. I feel like the one in the center that I just built looks almost like a apartment building, like a smaller apartment building, and this here really looks like a nice cute suburban home, and this is exactly what I was going for. And most of these houses have a nice cute garden, or I think actually all of them, like, but some have a bigger garden, some have a smaller garden. And I totally wanted to have like this type of path in front of the houses, which is like so American, like when you have a street and then you have a path right next to the street, but in between there's like a bit of lawn. This is what I was going for. It then got a bit tricky because I decided that I also want to have a curved street because I wanted this to look extra cool, and I had already created the round wall, and just having a diagonal street in the center wouldn't look as cool, so the path is not perfectly lining up with the street. So the street was just created using terrain paint at this point. I wanted to lay out the shape, the direction, so I'm knowing where the street is going to be, and I then started to work on the paths, as you can see here. And in between the paths that I'm just creating and the curved wall, I am going to build 2 houses in there. I then realized that there isn't a lot of space, so I started to move the paths a bit and also the street. So I changed the position of the street and this path a couple of times, and I wanted to like have a nice path where you can just cross the street. This is where the path is leading to the street, and I made multiple changes to this. Like, I had no idea how to do it at first, but then I was happy, and I then started to work on the houses, as you can see here, which I'm going to completely demolish in a second, if I recall correctly, because they are so tiny. I just realized that I just need more space. As I've said, I've made multiple changes to this, and I just really put so much time into the street and all the details. I mean, I've used the base game debug brick for the path at the top, and I'm going to use it for the street and the path. I'm going to use so many of them. I did not include the process of every single detail because this was a gigantic build, and I mean, you already saw how I've placed the debug bricks for the path at the top, so I did not want you to stare like at me placing base game debug bricks for 5 minutes. So I did not include the whole process, and the same goes for the furnishing process. But all of these houses are completely furnished, and each house has a kitchen, a bathroom, a living room, at least one bed. Some of them have multiple proper bedrooms, including kids' rooms, but the tiny house is just like like a tiny house where you have like one room and the bed is basically in the living room, if that makes sense. So they are all very different, but they are all fully furnished and functional. And when you let your family move in, you can decide which house is the best and which house has enough bedrooms, I guess. I'm just extra excited to hear if some of you will be using this house. I just had so much fun building this because it's always a bit challenging, and what's extra exciting to me is like making the public area look like a public area, which is where I've used this object where I'm placing the trees in to make it look like that. And I've just taken a look at debug to find so many objects, like a traffic light, like all kinds of different things to make it look at least a bit realistic. I know that it's not completely authentic, but it just had so much fun with this, and I hope that you will enjoy it. And the process, like building this, took me 5 days in total, I think, like including furnishing it. And I'm usually a really quick builder, but this was like a really big project. And also, like, for maybe an hour in the evening, I've been spending some time in Blender because I started to learn Blender. Mr. Alkan gave me a playlist that I'm following to learn Blender, and I just have the best time ever. I've been wanting to learn Blender for the longest time. I think the first time that I downloaded Blender and like followed a tutorial was probably, I don't know, so many years ago, so many years ago, but I never really got into it, and everything was kind of confusing, but I always wanted to learn it because I really like to do stuff in Photoshop. I love Illustrator. I love to edit videos. Like when I started my channel, I like started to learn how to do basic video editing. Like I had no idea how to even edit a very simple clip and how to cut it and all that. And yeah, but like the last thing really missing on my bucket list is Blender, and I've been wanting to learn it for the longest time, and I'm really enjoying it. Like sometimes it's so amazing to have like a small project where you like want to learn something new, and you always like spend an hour in your evening learning something, doing something. I really love this, and so far it's been great because the tutorials I'm following, it's just the best because it's like really amazingly explained. Like it doesn't matter what type of tutorial. I don't like when everything is like too fast, or when like at some point something is explained and you have no idea what's going on. And like the most frustrating thing is when you've been following a tutorial for something and you've been following it for hours and hours, and then at some point some step is so unclear that all the work you've done before, like you can't really continue and everything is confusing. But this tutorial playlist is like super amazing, and I've just the best time. And like I've always wanted to create the emerald heart in Blender, like making a 3D version, and I'm going to do that at some point. This will be like, I think, the first small tiny thing that I'm going to create just all by myself without just following along a tutorial, because this one, like the logo is like was created in Illustrator. So I'm just having a great time, and maybe one day maybe I will be able to create a bit of CC for you. I don't know, maybe one day I'm going to be able to do that, but right now I'm just having fun learning something new. And yeah, let me know in the comments down below, what is the last thing that you like started to tackle where you were like, okay, I want to learn something new? Like maybe you learned how to knit or how to draw, cook, bake, or Blender. No matter what, let me know if you like have a small project going on. What are your hobbies outside of The Sims? Because we all love The Sims over here. I would love to hear that from you. And yeah, I'm excited to just update you. Like, I love CC. I'm creating no CC builds because I want my builds to be available for everyone in the gallery. Like this was kind of the main idea, but I've mentioned this before. When I started to like create videos, like before that, I was addicted to CC. Like I had so much CC builds, CC closes. I even loved CAS. Like I'm not good at CAS, but for me, spending time in CAS was like playing with Barbie. I loved it so much. And I'm just excited to like tackle something like this, and I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I will just create a emerald heart at some point and that's it, but we will see what's going to happen. And yeah, here at this point I finished the street. As I've said earlier, I'm going to use so many base game debug bricks, and that's exactly what I did. This white object is a type of rock from Get Together, but it's not really a rock because you can find it in the decoration section, but not where you would find rocks. If I recall correctly, it's supposed to be used inside a pool, like on the floor, but it is a rock technically. Your Sims are going to walk over this and that's it. And I wanted to have a nice path in between because the area was empty. It was too small for another house. I did not want to include another tiny house, so I just decorated this kind of like a small park, but not really, because it seemed to be rare to have like a proper park in between the street and all that. But I mean, it's a suburban area, so I guess it still makes sense, but it's like really minimalistic, just a bench and a couple of bushes. And this here is one of the many gardens. This here is the house on the left, like the second one I built in this video, and I wanted to include a hot tub, a pool, all kinds of different things. For the modern vibe, I've used this glass awning, which is from Get Together, I think, and this is another house. You can see that the gardens vary in size, and I just tried to add as many objects as possible. Like for the smaller ones, I still tried to squeeze in a pool, and also of course a table and chairs and a barbecue grill. Like I tried different things, but here I eventually did not build a pool because it looked weird because of the diagonal layout. This is kind of one of the main problems. Like building diagonally, you cannot use stairs, which is why the placement of some of the stairs in these houses is ridiculous. Like I really did my best and I tried to make it look good, but a part of it is just ridiculous. I then also had some trouble when I had a smaller house and I wanted to add a small bathroom. As soon as you're working with diagonal rooms, every room is kind of big and it's like really confusing, and I thought, okay, I'm going to squeeze in a tiny bathroom in there, and then everything was confusing. Building diagonally is still really tricky, and we need some diagonal stairs. This would be so important because it's a nightmare. Like look at this, for example. I ended up using platforms to fix this. Like, I mean, I had to use platforms because I had raised the platform on the exterior, but I then also had to connect the platform to the rest of the house on the interior, and this is what I had to do. Like the stairs look diagonal, but in reality the house is diagonal, and this looks cool because I made it work, but it's still not good that we don't have diagonal stairs. And here I was also going for a modern kind of farmhouse vibe, lots of wooden tones but very muted, and also lots of black details like the railing, for example. And this here is the living room. And from now on, it might be confusing on which house I'm working on. I'm kind of jumping back and forth, and I've not included all interiors, as I said. But when you grab this from the gallery or Patreon, you will see that it's furnished and functional, and I've used all kinds of different styles, but mostly it's like a bit modern and kind of suburban, but also luxurious. I mean, again, Desperate Housewives vibes. I mean, this like Desperate Housewives suburbia is like really a special type of suburbia, like really luxurious. I've placed the fridge diagonally, which I would usually never do, but I just had to find a nice spot, and sometimes you gotta try something new. And I just, yeah, once again had so much fun building this. The whole process was just amazing, and let me know what you want to see next. I'm open for all kinds of projects. Halloween is right around the corner, but I think I'm done building anything spooky. I've created some autumnal builds, I've created the spooky challenge, and I'm excited for Halloween, but I don't think that I'm going to finish another Halloween build in time. And let me know, what are your plans for Halloween? Are you going to celebrate? What are you going to do? Just let me know, what are your plans. Personally, I'm just going to watch a horror movie or multiple horror movies with my boyfriend, and we're going to order some pizza, I guess, and just a really chill, spooky evening, and that's about it. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm just really excited because Halloween is always amazing. And if you have any good movie recommendations for Halloween, just let me know. I need all the good recommendations. We've recently watched Nope, and we thought it's amazing. I've heard that, like, I've read that there are like really mixed reviews. People either hate or love the movie. Personally, I really enjoyed it. I loved the whole backstory and all that. I thought it was good. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I really loved it. So my recommendation for you would be Nope. If you're into this type of movie, just look it up. I think it's amazing. Not really a typical Halloween movie, but I mean, I feel like anything goes. Anything that's a bit creepy and spooky and all that. But I mean, I know that some people only watch the classics or stuff like Halloween Town, Hocus Pocus, for example. I've also really enjoyed Hocus Pocus 2, actually. Again, mixed reviews, but I feel like whenever you have a sequel to a movie that is so popular and so iconic, you probably can't do it right. I feel like people are always going to think back to the first movie and will be a bit disappointed, but I loved it. And this is it. This video is slowly coming to an end. You can find this build in the gallery. My ID is KateEmerald. It is CC free and unmodded in the gallery. And you can also grab the tray files from my Patreon. And speaking of which, it's time to thank my Emerald Patreons and my Emerald YouTube members. A big thank you to Mehmet Ali Baras Khan, Asia, Charlotte, Jake Wrighthouse, Lady Sims KTY, Leah Cross, Laplace, Lisa Martin, Lisa Reuter, Saturated Spark, Shannon McClam, Stemlicious, and Steven. Thank you so much for your gigantic support. A big thank you to all my other Patreons and YouTube members. And of course, a big thank you to anyone who's here watching my videos. Thank you for all of your support. I love you so much. I hope you will have a absolutely perfect weekend, a perfect Halloween, and I hope I see you in the next video. Bye bye.